Great. You might have gotten a little robot voice that said recording in progress, but yeah, we're just going to record this so that folks who didn't join or join late or have to leave can also have an opportunity to watch it. We will get started and I will share my screen. So let me do that. Give me a second. Okay. All right. Are you all seeing my screen? Fantastic. So I will get us started. My name is Madeleine. I work on the outreach team at Where There Be Dragons. I'm also an instructor, and we'll introduce ourselves a little more thoroughly shortly. But basically, this webinar is about our programs, particularly in Cambodia and Thailand. So we'll be talking some big picture things about just like how we travel, the places we travel to, you know, and all of that. And then Shuier will be sharing some of those more specific pieces about Cambodia and Thailand. And this is both about our summer programs in Cambodia and Thailand. And if you all are interested, we can also talk a little bit about our Southeast Asia semester programs. So let me pull up our next slide here. I'll introduce myself again. Madeleine. I work as an instructor in China, Taiwan, and Southeast Asia. I've led a few of our partnership programs in Cambodia, as well as 2 Mekong semesters that travel in Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. And so, yeah, I was most recently in Southeast Asia last for the fall semester. And excited to, share about this part of the world and Dragons programming in general with you all. When I'm not instructing, I work in the office doing outreach, talking about our programs with interested students and schools and families and teachers. Sure.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. And my name is Shuier. I'm the Asia Program Director at Dragons. And similarly to Madeleine, I initially started with Dragons in 2016 as an instructor in China and gradually led different programs in the region and also in Southeast Asia. So now I oversee all the programs for our open enrollments in Asia, which includes Southeast Asia and Cambodia and Thailand. Lovely to be here and to share more about our programmings in those lovely countries with you all today.
All right. So I'm just going to start us off talking a little bit about Dragons for those of you to just get a picture of kind of what our programs are, because all of our programs all over Asia, Africa, and Latin America share a lot in common. And then Shuier will share more details about Cambodia and Thailand in particular. So just our name, map makers, primarily European map makers in the past would draw dragons on their maps to represent lands unknown or places beyond the map. And so today when we think about Where There Be Dragons, we think that kind of means like exploring beyond what's known to you. That could be places, but that's also, you know, engaging new and finding out new parts of oneself, new parts of the world, what's unfamiliar or unknown. So that's a little bit about our name. I think it speaks to our philosophy as well. A little more about Dragons. So we got started in 1993. So it's been 31 years. Programs kind of started in China, spread through Asia into Latin America, and Africa, and even a little bit in North America. We do programs for high school and college students, group experiences. All of our programs are 12 students and 3 instructors. We run 2 4- and 6-week summer programs. They are primarily 4-week summer programs, and our Thailand and Cambodia summer programs are both 4 weeks long. They go from June 28th to July 25th. yeah, we also do run 3-month gap semester programs in the fall and in the spring for students ages 17 through 22. So usually that's students who have completed high school. And those programs have optional college credit as well. And so in the context of Southeast Asia, which is what we're talking about today, that includes our Southeast Asia Mekong semester. What makes dragons unique? Yeah, a lot of things. I think like unfiltered travel really means that we try to experience local realities as authentically as possible. Often beautiful, sometimes complex, but always as true as possible just to day-to-day life in the places that we travel. And so, you know, our dragons instructors are really special folks who have a lot of just like regional knowledge, fluency, language in the places that we travel. The majority of our instructors are folks who are from the regions that we travel to. So have Thai and Cambodian instructors in Thailand and Cambodia. And yeah, the teams kind of work together to create a unique program itinerary for every group. So constantly, that's why we talk about having our programs like no two programs are the same. The Thailand program that we ran last fall is different from the Thailand program that we have done in the past, and we're constantly kind of like changing and improving and basing it on instructors' contacts and passions, things that come up for us. And so when we share on our website, you'll see a sample itinerary. That really is a sample. Like it could look like that. As the date for the program gets closer, you'll see more of a tentative itinerary posted by your instructors. But again, that's still tentative. You will we travel in a way that's really flexible. And so when we have an opportunity, such as to attend a wedding or to be a part of a festival or something like that, we can potentially alter our itinerary to do that. Or something comes up and we can't travel on a certain day. We can travel on the next day. So we're pretty flexible. And I think that makes our programs quite unique in that you're not kind of handed an itinerary and go along and do that, but there's a lot of thought and effort and flexibility built into it. I spoke about this earlier, but we travel in groups of 12 students and 3 instructors, and those small groups make a lot of things possible, such as homestays and traveling via public transportation and kind of in really local ways. And Shuier will talk more about those program elements. And then, yeah, as an instructor, I think it's really fantastic, the ratio, of 4 students to 1 instructor. They really do get a lot of individualized support and mentoring in a small group like that, as well as, they're able to develop close relationships with other folks and their instructors. And then finally, our programs are unplugged. And so our programs are offline. We really want our students to be fully present in the places that they travel. And so it sounds a little bit intimidating at first, but a lot of our students report that at the end of a program, they're like, wow, that was really amazing. And it's actually like a challenge sometimes to think about, like, oh, how do I go back to using technology? And yeah, we find that students like really benefit from and enjoy that option to be unplugged. Obviously, students are able to contact home every once in a while. I would say on a summer program that happens every like 7 to 10-ish days, depending on itinerary. And, there's a student travel blog called the Yak Board that students and instructors are posting on quite regularly to share updates and reflections and photos with folks at home. And then, of course, if there are any urgent needs, instructors, of course, carry phones, and so we can be in touch with folks at home pretty immediately, and folks at home can also be in touch with our office and their student. But yeah, the unplugged experiences for a lot of our students, it might be the 1 month in their life that they aren't glued to a smartphone, and so it's really quite special. And then, yeah, the last thing I'll talk about is who are Dragon students. I would say our students come from pretty diverse backgrounds. They're students who are curious about the world beyond maybe where they're from or where they grew up. They're folks who are really eager to learn more about the world and more about themselves. People who, want an adventure that will challenge them, but also support them and, engaging with communities in the most like genuine and meaningful way as possible. So if like I normally tell students, I'm like, if this sounds interesting to you, if this like excites you, then I think it's probably a good fit. Big picture, most of our students do come from the US and North America, but we do welcome international students, and anywhere from like 15 to 20% of our student body is international students joining us from Europe, Asia, Latin America. Students don't need to have any prior experience with language or with particular level of like trucking skills or things like that when they come in, and with the Thai language and the Khmer language, like it's not particularly they're not commonly taught in schools, and so students don't need to have any proficiency there. Yeah, big picture, like our programs aren't for everyone, but if this kind of travel is exciting to you and interesting to you, then it really could be a great fit. I'm gonna hand it over to Shuier to talk a little bit about Thailand and Cambodia.
All right, thank you very much, Madeleine. And Madeleine just spoke about who we are, what we do as an organization, and some generic traits about our programs. And now I'm going to dive into some specifics about our programs in Thailand and Cambodia. All right, next slide, please. First of all, I'm going to talk about the essential ingredients for our programs. So as you can see, there are 9 program components on every Dragons program. I don't know why the characters aren't showing. Oh, here we go.
There you go. Sorry.
Brilliant. No worries. All right. So as you can see, there are 9 program components on every Dragons program. So they are homestay, rugged travel, religious and spiritual traditions, social and environmental justice, focus of inquiry, independent study projects, language study, learning service, and tracking. So these are the building blocks of our programs, and depending on the program, each program component weighs differently to help sharpen the focus of your experiences. So for example, on both of our Cambodian and Thailand programs, homestay, rugged travel, religious and spiritual practices take up a bigger percentage than, let's say, tracking, which is the focus of our Nepal program, or language study, which is more of a focus of our China and Taiwan program. So later I will speak more about a few of those program components and share how we craft engaging, meaningful, and fun travel experiences through those program components in Cambodia and Thailand. All right. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our itinerary design. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so if you go on a typical travel tour, a lot of the itinerary is dictated by sightseeing. So you'll be hopping on and off buses and going from one famous site to another without much time for you to process. We really try to intentionally design our programs with this idea of a 5-stage progression of skills for our students. So we don't merely just go visit places, but there is a clear intention built into each itinerary. So this is also the fundamental of our leadership curriculum. So instead of just thinking about where we are physically moving through, what activities we're doing, we're also thinking about what skills our students are acquiring and what challenges and opportunities that they have along the way to practice those new skills in different settings. So I would just go over those stages briefly. So when every program starts, the student will go through an orientation. So depending on the length of the program, an orientation can be between 2 to 5 days. So this is a dedicated time for the students to get to know each other and their instructors, and go through important cultural do's and don'ts, learn about health and safety tips, build group cultures and norms, etc., so that we don't land and just dive into a new environment straight away. But to take time to build a safe group container, and then later when we do go out and venture into a new environment and interact with new people, new cultures, we have this safe space to come back to. And from there, we'll move on to more skill acquisition, which is learning about what basic travel skills that we will need to get our needs met in this new place. So that involves learning a local language, finding where to get safe water, how to go to the bathroom, and how to shower, things that we normally know how to do without thinking at home, but need learning again in a new place. So moving on from that, the instructors will provide more space and opportunities for students to practice those skills, which can be a homestay. So where you will have time to be away from the whole group and have more autonomy to use those skills that you've acquired so far to navigate the day-to-day and to prepare for what we call the student-led expedition phase. So then after that, we'll move into the student expedition phase, during which our instructors will take a step back and let students take over the reins of the program, and design and execute the itinerary for a section of the trip. So now the instructors are leading from behind rather than actively leading from the front. So students will be working as a group to make bookings, design activities, and exercising those travel and interpersonal skills that they've learned so far. Before the program ends, the group will come together one more time to process and reflect on what they've experienced and learned during the program. How can we reorient ourselves for going home so the experiences that we learned can inform our lives back home and inform our values and passions back home? So then that's the time for transference. We come together one more time before we go home. So that's how our 5 stages of skill progression look like on the program, and it's clearly incorporated into our itinerary design. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so next I'm going to talk a bit more about a few of the different components which are common on our Thailand and or take a heavy percentage on our Thailand and Cambodia programs. So homestay is a big component in both Thailand and Cambodia. We work with a variety of communities across both countries for homestays. For example, in Cambodia, we stay with a community which lives on an island in the Mekong River in Kraochet province. Their livelihood and traditions largely depend on the Mekong River, but the ecosystem and environment of which has changed drastically in recent decades since the more and more hydropowered dams have been built in China and Laos upper stream. So we learn about the impact of the dams to the river, to the environment, and to local people's life and traditions, geopolitical, economical issues through living with the people on Koh Phattau Island and listening to their stories. And in Thailand, we stay with a small Karen ethnic village north of Chiang Mai and learn about their indigenous leadership from the youth leaders there, follow the tea farmers into the fields, help them to pick and process tea, and we learn about sustainability through observing their rotational farming practices. So, and actually Madeleine have been to both of the communities on our Southeast Asia semester last fall and had a wonderful experiences. And if you have more questions about that later, she's more than happy to share her experiences and insight to both of the communities. So this is just a quick insight. And we aim to place one student in one home. However, depending on the number of families who sign up to host our students in different seasons of the year, as well as the students' mental and physical needs and the student group dynamic, we sometimes do place more than one student in one home. And student will have their own room in the homestay. If we place more than one student in the home, they might need to share a room sometimes. So every family is different, as we know. Some have a lot of family members living together or living close by, Some just have 1 or 2 family members, and some families have children, some don't, and some have pets and some don't. Some have religious beliefs and some don't. So we really do encourage our students to have an open mind about all different types of families and learn from each other. So for the communities that we visit and place our students for homestays in Thailand and Cambodia, those are all tight-knit communities. So oftentimes everybody knows everybody else. So they're all related somehow or is a family friend on a relatively small community. So it's, again, a very interesting insight into how different communities work around the world. And many parents ask how we find our host families and how we vet them. Normally, the way we start working with the community is by introduction from someone within the Dragons community, like a formal instructor, a language teacher, or someone who has a connection with Dragons and understands what we do. And then the collaboration often starts with one family in the community, and then through recommendations by the families that we've worked with and trusted. So we recruit more host families. And of course, in Cambodia and Thailand, we have a really solid network on the ground, and we send instructors in to do questionnaires with the families and to physically like have an interaction with them in person to understand who are the families and also to provide insight on who we are to those families. So I know like the homestay component often is the most daunting component for a lot of the students, but also on the other hand, the families are also nervous. So they're receiving a stranger into their home just as you're going into someone else's house. So they are also feeling nervous. So we do prepare them as much as we prepare our students before we go into any homestay experiences. So, but a lot of our students also acknowledge the homestay is one of the most rewarding experiences on the trip because it gives you an opportunity to build meaningful human connections through the struggles of communication, the shared language of humor and laughter, and even moments of awkward silence, which we all struggle to deal with sometimes. But there is definitely enormous growth in that. All right, so
I'll just add, like, these two communities in particular are villages that have hosted Dragons groups for many years, like many different groups of our students. And so, you know, it's not uncommon to walk into a homestay and you'll see maybe pictures of past homestay students, or they're wearing a sports jersey from the US as some kind of like gift of someone's given them in the past. And so like they're communities that we work with pretty closely, and most families have experience of hosting students before in the community. Definitely does and has this pretty tight-knit relationship with Dragons. Jack did ask, do the families communicate in English? These are families in pretty rural parts of Thailand and Cambodia, and they're like intentionally not in places that are heavy with tourism. And so some families might speak a few words here and there that they've picked up of English. Actually, some families up in Huaykin Ladnai in the Thai village speak some Mandarin because they interact a lot with tea traders that come down from China in the spring. But in terms of English, they might know a few words or how to count or something like that, but certainly don't expect to communicate with the families in English. It'll definitely be more of a especially at first, that body language, you know, drawing pictures to communicate, playing games, showing photos and things like that. And then, you know, as you're also building those language skills, that'll be a part of the interactions more and more. And I think homestay can sound like the most intimidating part of a program, and it really is for like all of the students that I work with. But it's also like absolutely, it's my favorite, both to do as an instructor and to facilitate for students and to see them grow and to see their homestay families. They become more tight knit with their homestay families. So it's a really rewarding and special part of our programs, as like intimidating as it can sound at the beginning. Like yeah, when the families are leaving, or when we're leaving the homestays, there's lots of, hugs and tears quite often. So it is really kind of amazing to see how close you can get with a family or family members in a pretty short period of time. And that doesn't necessarily always happen or for everyone, but it's definitely like, yeah, it's quite special. All right. I'll give you the next slide, Shuier.
Thank you. And those are the pictures from our homestay community in Cambodia. That's a picture taken from last summer from the homestay on Koh Phattau Island, and Madeleine is visited. So next picture. All right, so then another very important component on both our Thailand and Cambodia programs are religious and spiritual traditions. So as we all know, Buddhism thrives in Thailand and Cambodia, where Theravada tradition prevails. Monks hold very important status in the society and guides religious and societal affairs. So thousands of temples in Thailand, also known as wats, serve as spiritual centers and community hubs, and also with the royal support strengthening the faith influence. And in Cambodia, the iconic Angkor Wat symbolizes Buddhism's integration into culture, despite the Khmer Rouge that attempt to eradicate it. Monastic revival efforts after Khmer Rouge era led by figures like Maha Gosan Nada have restored Buddhism's promises, and with rituals, offerings, and temple visits remaining integral to daily life and spiritual practices. As you can see, this is a picture of a temple in Thailand, really vibrant colors and really beautiful. So apart from just visiting the temples, our students learn about Buddhism in Thailand and Cambodia by observing and taking part in the daily rituals in their host families. So a lot of the families are Buddhism practices, so they observe and take part in those daily rituals, and sometimes groups join Buddhist retreats in monasteries to learn and discuss about the Buddhist teaching with monks. So there will definitely be different types and forms of opportunities for students to get deeper into understanding what Buddhism is, how it is influencing and impacting people's everyday life in Cambodia and Thailand. All right, so next one, I believe, is a picture of a group of our students having a lesson with the monk, and they're learning about the life of Buddha. And then next one. So this is a group of students in the monastery retreat. So when you go to the monastery retreat, you have to cleanse yourself and you change into the clothes, which is suitable for meditation, and going into the meditation hall and participating in the daily runnings of the monastery. So that's a group of our students, I think maybe at the end of their retreat. All right.
Yeah,
So.
and just to add on to, I guess, the religious and spiritual aspects, like it's like Shuier was saying, like Buddhism is so prevalent in daily life in the places that we go. So it's not like only isolated to like a temple visit or a monastery retreat. Like in Hua Hin Lad Nai, the families like most of the families will give alms to the two monks that live up on the kind of like hill. They'll come down and the community will give alms every morning. So there's like the opportunity to participate in things like that, and just it's really like integrated into daily life. And shoot, there's something else I was going to add, but I don't remember. So, it's just that in addition to Buddhism, both of the homestay communities that we stay with, and you'll see it kind of like throughout Thailand and Cambodia, but both communities really also practice kind of traditional forms of animism and like relationship with the earth and the spirits of different, trees and rocks and things like that. And so it's really interesting to see kind of like that, how do Buddhism and animism intersect in places where both are really quite prevalent in practice. Okay, back to environmental and social justice.
Lovely. Thank you, Madeleine. And then something else, which is also a focus on both the Thailand and Cambodia program, is social and environmental justice. In both of the places, those issues are significant concerns. Both countries grapple with issues brought by economic development, such as land grabs and exploitation of natural resources, environmental issues, and those issues often disproportionately affecting marginalized communities. So activists activating for justice face risks of violence, intimidation, and legal persecution. But despite all of those obstacles, there are still a lot of grassroots movement and NGOs strive to change, pushing for equitable land rights, sustainable development, and the protection of vulnerable populations and ecosystems, aiming to address systematic injustice and promote a more just and sustainable future in both of the countries. So our students will have opportunity to visit those issues by living with the affected communities, like the Koh Pao in Cambodia, because it's downstream on the Mekong, and because of the dams which has been built upstream, so the ecosystem of the river has changed, and so their livelihood have definitely been affected and changed, like how often they could go fishing in the river, and what are the sort of the ecosystem in the river, like how many species are still living in the river have changed. So they are definitely constantly fighting with that in the day-to-day, and our students get to participate and be part of that by living with the community and sharing this experience and listening to the community's story and struggles, and thinking about those issues from the local level to the global level, and thinking how this connects with our lifestyles back home, and how are we contributing, or potentially is a solution to this whole to those issues that we are facing. And they also visit NGOs and have conversations and discussions with activists who work at the front line of fighting against those issues, like visiting the Mekong School, which Madeleine's group also did. So it's a school focuses on providing education and training related to environmental conservation, sustainable development, and cultural preservation, particularly in the context of the Mekong River Basin. It is up in the northern Chiang Mai. So again, those kind of opportunities for students to dive deeper into the issues those countries are facing, and to learn, of course, first to learn about the struggles the countries are facing, and learn about what the activists are doing, and maybe thinking on their bigger scale, how we can contribute and help in our daily lives. All right. Anything to add to that, Madeleine? All right. Then next, rugged travel. So as you can see, this is someone on a boat. So it's pretty typical to travel on a boat on the Cambodia or Thailand programs. So on our programs, we try to travel as locals do, as much as we can, and rarely take private buses or cars to travel. So you may find yourself in a wide range of local transportations, as in this picture. It's a boat, and sometimes a tuk-tuk, and sometimes even at the back of a pickup truck. So you can see now, so there's a group of my students, top left corner, on the Mekong program, and they were in the back of a pickup truck and coming back from the tea picking. And then the bottom is also a picture of a group I led back in 2018. We're using the boat on the river as a classroom. So those are different forms of local transportation you can expect. So taking local public transportation not only reduces our carbon footprint, but also allows for a more immersive cultural experience and it helps us to foster interactions with locals and gives us a deeper understanding of the destination we are in. So it would definitely be uncomfortable at times, but also fun. It's definitely different compared with what the transportation forms you used to at home. So keep an open mind to rugged travel as we learn from how locals travel. All right, so then next. Okay, so this is not a program component, but an essential component of the program because we will have to eat. And it's a question asked by parents and students a lot. So what are the foods we're going to be eating on the program on a day-to-day basis? And what are the foods like in homestay? So it's definitely a question we get asked a lot. So staple foods in Thailand primarily include rice and noodles and sometimes a bit of sticky rice, served alongside with a variety of curry, stir fries, soups featuring very bold flavors in dishes like famous dishes you will probably know, like pad thai, tom yum, and green curry. And in Cambodia, rice is the main staple, and similarly, people also eat sticky rice, often accompanied by fish, meat, or vegetables, which offers a balanced flavor in dishes like fish amok, beef lo lak, and khmer red curry. So in both places, there is abundance of vegetables and different forms of meat. So it's easy to accommodate different dietary needs. So as long as those needs were communicated with us earlier on. And meals are often shared, like family style meals, where students will serve each other from large communal plates, whether you're in the restaurant or at home. So it's easy to accommodate different people's taste and preferences in this style of eating. If you have a specific diet for religious or health reasons, and we can try our best to accommodate, but please reach out to us and we can assess whether this is appropriate for the program. All right, and I think there's another picture. Yay. It's a group of students eating the communal style on the ground. I think it's in Cambodia. All right, so, and if you are a very adventurous eater, you can definitely try some of the local specialties. As you can see, these students are eating a deep fried spider. So yeah, I think that's it. All right, so that's everything that I have to share with. I'll pass the mic back to Madeleine.
Okay, thank you so much, Shuier. And yeah, this is just to kind of like wrap things up. Want to talk big picture about student outcomes. So we did some big surveys of folks who had done our programs and kind of like those outcomes or those skills that they walked away with fall into a few different categories. And so personal growth, through these carefully mentored, carefully designed experiences, and Shuier talked about that course progression, students can, learn and grow as individuals, and they report things like newfound confidence and independence, self-awareness, perspective, critical thinking, decision making. A lot of folks walk away from our programs with an idea, maybe more of what they want to study in college or what they want to do as a career. But definitely, yeah, that personal growth, that comfort with discomfort definitely comes on our programs, as well as a greater sense of like compassion, empathy, and gratitude. I'll also talk a little about just like, yeah, cultural competency. Those cross-cultural skills are huge and really important in today's world. And so, yeah, students kind of learn how to navigate new circumstances, adapt to the unfamiliar, and develop the confidence to travel on their own. So they're not just learning kind of like those tangible skills, they're obviously learning, foreign languages, maybe multiple ones. In the homestay in northern Thailand, you're not just learning Thai, but you're also learning the Karen or Paganyong language. And so There's lots of language learning, and there's lots of, navigation, logistics, some of those travel skills. What is responsible travel? But they're also, learning those soft skills of cross-cultural communication, cultural awareness, and sensitivity. Um, Leadership. So our courses all have a leadership progression that's built into the program, and students kind of rotate through a leadership rotation. And that might start with kind of small responsibilities like helping order food as a restaurant, or helping book bus tickets at a bus station. And we kind of like build that up so that students are really, by the end of the program, during that expedition phase, it's really student led. And when saying something student led means that it really is, students are navigating, group dynamics. And when you're, for a month or 3 months with 11 other people, there are definitely interpersonal dynamics at play. And so it's learning about how to communicate, and communication skills, conflict resolution skills, problem solving, collaboration. A big one is like giving and receiving feedback, engaging with different perspectives. So there's lots that we do kind of with leadership and group dynamics within our programs as well. And then eye-opening experiences, that's just a reflection on, that travel is a powerful teacher. And so, I'm someone who grew up here in the US, and I lived in China for 4 years, and then traveled throughout parts of Southeast Asia and Taiwan. And I think, like, for me, it was so important to see that things could be done otherwise. Like, there's different ways to do things. There's different ways to engage with other people. There's different ways to live in community. And it's not just kind of what I'd been taught or what I'd grown up with. And so to be exposed to different ways of doing things, different, ways of being with people or being with the land, I think it's hugely, hugely important. Yeah. If, let me see, get to the next slide here. Okay, I might have clicked through too fast, but if this interests you, I can talk a little bit about what are those next steps. So for summer programs and for fall programs, we have rolling admissions, meaning that programs are relatively like first come, first serve. What you need to do to apply to a program is, the first thing that you'll do is you'll fill out an online application. If you go to our website, every single page at the top right corner, there's a button that says enroll now. And so there's an application that you will fill out. It should take around 20, maybe 30 minutes, but it's really an opportunity for you to answer a few questions and share a little bit about yourself and why you want to join the program. And then what you will do is submit a deposit. The deposit holds your place on the program, and it also moves you into the interview stage of the application process. Someone from our admissions team will contact you about the interview, but it's normally about a 30-minute phone interview to just get a sense of who you are, again, why you want to travel with us, and we talk a little bit about like physical and mental health to make sure it's the right program and the right time for you. And then once you are accepted onto the program, we will get you ready with packing lists, visa information, travel insurance, different books and documentaries about your program destination. So yeah, and you are more than welcome at any point in this process, whether you haven't started an application or you're already have an interview date scheduled. You're more than welcome to reach out to myself or Shuier or someone else on our team. We're here to obviously answer all of your questions. We can also put you in touch with alumni from our programs in Thailand and Cambodia, or parents whose students have done our programs before. You can hear it all from Shuier and me, but if you want to hear it from the student perspective or a parent perspective, we're more than happy to put you in touch with those folks. So yeah, just reach out to get connected, and I will send a follow-up email to everyone here probably tomorrow. So I just want to make some time for some questions at the end here. Let me see if I can, a little finicky with getting to the next slide. But yeah, we'll have about 13-ish minutes if folks have questions. And I see Jack has asked, how much does season, fall, or spring impact the activities for the gap semester? Great question. So with the Southeast Asia semester, to my understanding, we in recent years have run that one more in the fall than in the spring. And that's kind of due to season and different parts of Southeast Asia, particularly Laos and Thailand. It's the dry season in the spring, and so it's quite a bit hotter and just more smoke from the lack of rain, from industrial output, and from people who are burning their fields. And so I have also I've run a Southeast Asia program in the spring in 2019. I ran the Southeast Asia program in the fall, last fall in 2023. So it's definitely possible to run both, but in recent years, we've primarily run it in the fall. Yeah, anything to add?
Yeah, and I guess I can add to that, and seasons will impact the packing list because you're traveling, like in the spring, you're like traveling towards warmer season, but like in the fall, you're traveling towards cooler season. But yeah, it will impact our packing list slightly. But for activities, it wouldn't affect so much. We evaluate like whether the weather or the climate is appropriate for different activities throughout. And so if it's like, for example, if it's during the spring, it's raining a lot, and then we initially planned to go on a boat, and then it's not safe to do so, then we will change the itinerary. So again, that's why, like Madeleine was saying at the beginning, we embrace something called the flexible itinerary to accommodate for those seasonal and opportunities. And yeah, so just come with an open mind, and but generally it wouldn't affect the activities too much.
Mm-hmm. And like the one nice thing about, because it's a 3-month program, so like for example, last fall when I did the program, we started in September, and September is definitely the rainy season, but you know, we had maybe like a month and a half of time in the rainy season, and then it was a little bit more kind of like the cooler, drier season. So in the spring it would kind of like, yeah, would get hotter and drier.
Right. Any other questions? Anyone who has other questions? All right. So also be sure that this wouldn't be the last opportunity for you to ask questions. Like Madeleine said, if you have any other questions, and feel free to write to any one of us or to our admission teams if it's a question related to admission. And if it's program related questions for both me and Madeleine, we're more than happy to help you answer.
Yeah, our programs in Thailand and Cambodia and the Southeast Asia semester, they're really, really wonderful programs. And I think, yeah, I hope that, yeah, this gave you some information. And if you have, more questions, do reach out. Let me see. Oh, we've got one more in terms of food. Do we need to like the food to go on this program? And so I would say like, I had some students on my last program who were definitely like, like eating Thai food or food in Cambodia was definitely a stretch for them. And I definitely would encourage folks coming on these programs to be, like open to trying new foods, that doesn't mean that you're gonna be eating like frogs and spiders every day. But yeah, you might be eating some things that are a little bit outside of your comfort zone or things that you don't normally eat at home. It's a lot of rice. And so sometimes our students are like, oh, wow, I didn't expect to be eating like rice for every meal. And rice is not a particularly like exotic food, but oh, when you're having it every day, it is different. And so I think, yeah, like being open to the food and open to, you know, trying new things. It doesn't mean um, anything super wild. And obviously, you're not going to be forced to eat things that you're not comfortable with. But I think to appreciate your time in Southeast Asia, definitely being open to different types of food is helpful. Yeah. And one nice thing I will also say about family style eating, because you're eating family style a lot, it you know, you're kind of have that opportunity to have your own bowl and have, you know, take the food that you want and not the food that you don't want, so that you get to kind of like control the portions and what you're eating, which I actually really love that about eating family style versus like being served or something like that. And so we'll eat family style a lot. Okay, I
All
am
right.
going to, gosh, I'm sure there is a good way here on Zoom to stop the recording, but it might just be easier um, to end the meeting. So I'm going to do that. Thank you all so much for showing up. And again, like you can reach out if you have any questions. I'll send a follow-up email tomorrow, and I'll include this recording on it as well. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.